A few years ago, the tech industry assumed the migration to Austin, Texas was a temporary pandemic trend, but the data from 2025 proves that assumption wrong. Austin has quietly built the foundation for a massive boom in hardware, robotics, and defense technology. This chart tracks venture capital funding in the city. You can see a sharp spike right here in 2025, reaching a record $7.19 billion. Investors are pouring late-stage capital into physical automation and autonomous systems. This velocity is possible because of a highly frictionless environment. You have senior engineering talent, deep pools of institutional capital, and the sheer physical space required for advanced manufacturing, all converging in one geographic hub without excessive bureaucratic drag. The American tech strategy has evolved past pure software. By aggressively concentrating capital into these high-friction physical hardware categories, the U.S. is rapidly dominating the next generation of artificial intelligence and infrastructure. Across the Atlantic, the environment looks entirely different. An entrepreneur trying to scale a business in Europe has to navigate 27 distinct national legal systems and over 60 different corporate frameworks. That fragmentation creates a massive drain on both talent and capital. Because of those borders and regulatory hurdles, roughly 30% of Europe's billion-dollar tech startups have relocated out of the continent. They are overwhelmingly moving to the United States to find deeper capital markets and a single, unified consumer base. This graphic breaks down the reality of European tech dependency. 80% of the continent's digital infrastructure and technology is currently imported. And when it comes to the cloud, U.S. hyperscalers now control 70% of the European market. Despite its massive industrial wealth and world-class research institutions, Europe is effectively operating as a digital colony to American tech giants. It relies on foreign infrastructure for basic digital survival. The United States approaches the artificial intelligence race as a pure capital deployment challenge. American markets are pouring more than $600 billion a year into tech manufacturing and information processing equipment. Investment in that physical hardware grew by 22% last year alone. The core strategy is to build the physical infrastructure of the future faster than anyone else can react. Europe lacks a unified capital market to match that kind of spending. In his landmark report, former European Central Bank President Mario Draghi warned the EU needs an additional 800 billion euros in annual investment just to stay in the game. The contrast is strict. The United States is attempting to buy its way into the future through massive capital expenditure, leaving Europe with little choice but to try and regulate its way to parity. To stop the bleeding of its native startups, the European Commission proposed EU Inc. It offers an optional, digital-by-default corporate framework designed to bypass the 27 competing national systems and unlock the single market for local entrepreneurs. But this regulatory... By prioritizing safety, documentation, and sovereignty over speed, Europe has inadvertently created a system that suffocates the exact native startups it wants to protect. These contrasting approaches mean the global internet is no longer a single, unified landscape. It is fracturing into two distinct and incompatible operating models. The American model is optimized entirely for frictionless capital aggregation. It rewards extreme risk tolerance and prioritizes rapid physical scaling above almost all other concerns. The European model operates as a defensive fortress. It deliberately introduces friction, prioritizing safety, legal sovereignty, and environmental compliance at the direct expense of speed. Now, American tech companies looking to operate globally have to make a choice. They can either absorb massive ongoing compliance costs to meet European standards or face complete bans from one of the world's wealthiest consumer markets. Europe's digital Iron Curtain will likely succeed in its primary goal, securing its citizens' data from foreign leverage and enforcing strict legal sovereignty. But the sheer friction required to maintain those walls ensures the continent will lock itself out of the future of innovation. For the past few years, the European Union has been constructing an invisible barrier. Instead of trying to out-innovate global tech leaders, European regulators are building a highly complex legislative wall to limit their access to the market. The goal is digital sovereignty, a coordinated effort to ensure European citizens' data is completely insulated from the dominance of US cloud providers like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. This is the October 2025 Cloud Sovereignty Framework. It serves as the primary legislative tool designed to mandate and enforce this technological independence. This table defines strategic and legal sovereignty objectives, SOV 1 and 2. Providers must maintain strategic control and legal jurisdiction strictly within the European Union. To reach the highest security rating, companies must quarantine from non-EU technology, completely insulating infrastructure from external legal claims. What began as an effort to protect user privacy has grown into a system where proving corporate independence requires passing rigid, exhaustive checklists rather than actually engineering new technology. This friction extends well beyond cloud storage. With the rollout of the AI Act and the proposed Digital Omnibus package, the enforcement mechanisms are becoming much heavier across the entire digital economy. For SMEs, initial compliance for a high-risk AI system can cost up to 600,000 euros, wiping out nearly 40% of operating profit. Afterward, these companies must navigate 27 distinct legal regimes, resolving overlapping product safety rules and conflicting oversight. European founders now operate in a reality where government paperwork poses a greater existential threat than a rival's engineering. Compare that bureaucratic friction with the environment in Austin, Texas. Capital and engineering talent do not respect international borders. They migrate relentlessly toward environments that reward velocity and minimize paperwork. We can see the result of these opposing environments by looking at Aleph Alpha. Founded in 2019, the startup was once heavily promoted by the German government as their native answer to American AI dominance. But to train a frontier model capable of competing with OpenAI, a company needs access to enormous arrays of specialized microchips and hundreds of millions in continuous venture capital. The European domestic market was unable to provide either at the required scale. Lacking the necessary resources, the company executed a hard pivot. They stopped trying to compete on raw model performance and instead built Feria AI, an orchestration tool that acts as compliance software, helping enterprises deploy foreign technology within European laws. Following this pivot, the startup was acquired by Cohere, an AI firm based in Canada. Europe's flagship AI contender survived, but only by abandoning the race to build the core technology, choosing instead to act as the legal packaging for North American software. This portrait shows Mario Draghi, the former European Central Bank president, whose landmark report recently detailed a grim macroeconomic reality. While the United States is deploying massive amounts of capital to build out hardware and data centers, the European tech sector is shedding jobs, continuing to operate with a labor-intensive approach while growth stagnates. The legal frameworks designed to protect a domestic tech industry are instead driving the region's most valuable assets into the arms of competing markets.